everybody, my name is Sun Myung Moon and welcome to iHome Church. This morning I would like to talk about the importance of clean living, and let me explain what I mean by that. A couple days ago I just came back from Las Vegas and enjoyed a wonderful flight with somebody who was seated next to me who was all about clean living. And this person was somebody who was very much what you and I would call a health nut. And, she had a great body, she had a great demeanor, and the whole time we talked about the importance of diet and her concern for this world, and because our children and the people that we love are putting all the wrong stuff into their mouth. And of course she was talking about the kind of foods, and so she kind of showed me on her iPad all the weeks and days and months that she had planned out for clean living, for healthy living, and for eating the right kind of foods. And I learned a great deal about how to be healthy in life, and what kind of foods are great for you. They give you the right kind of fuel, and provides that turns into the right kind of energy so that we can be incredible people. And there's really a science to the art of eating right. And, when I was listening to her talk to me about all the ways or the different tips that you can have in your life for healthy living, and, a great deal of emphasis was placed on the importance of what was put inside, into the mouth, I started thinking about how clean living is not just what we take in terms of food, but also what we put out. And the incredible thing about this organ, that we call the mouth, is it's absolutely necessary for us to have, so that we can take in all the nutrition from the food that we eat. But it also is a mouthpiece or a vocal expression of who we are as human beings. And so we pay a great deal of attention when we want healthy living of what we put into our mouth, what we put into our bodies. But many times we don't pay the equal amount of attention in our lives to what we put out of our mouths. And many times the kind of words that we share with the most important people in our lives, or in our most intimate relationships. And so when I thought about this, passage in the Good Book, and it says in Mathew chapter 15, verse 17 through 20, it says, "Do you not see and understand that whatever goes into the mouth passes into the abdomen, and so passes on into the place where discharges are deposited?" Obviously, what you put into your mouth are digested like food, and whatever is not used is put out. But whatever comes out of the mouth comes from the heart, and this is what makes a man unclean and defiles him. And I thought this was kind of interesting, or something worthy of contemplation and meditation, because again, we kind of take it as a given, that in order to live, we take in food, we digest, and we, take care of our the parts that comes out of our bodies. But many times we don't really pay attention to what comes out of the mouth. And what comes out of the mouth are incredibly powerful things called words. And, I always remind myself that what goes into the mouth determines our health, but what comes out of the mouth defines our wealth of who we are. It becomes what we are our words become our whole personage, not just as an expression to the world, but it ends up molding our understanding of who we are and what we are to the world. And so when my father also talks about the importance and the really the power of words, he gave the speech in July 30th, 2000. He says that when you are investing your effort, and he's talking about investing in relationships or really wanting to take care of people, wanting to inspire and empower people, when you are investing in your effort, he says, don't nag or complain. In fact, he advises that we close our mouth. He said, close your mouth, be quiet, and just give. He says, your silence signifies that you are the owner. You will become the pole that can welcome the dawn's twilight and the morning sunshine. Is not the dawn a time of tranquil silence? And when I read my father's words, it reminds me of a time when father says, who is the most important person in the family? When 3 generations are living in a family, who is the most important? He says the grandparents. And he says the grandparents tend to be the most quiet ones in the house because they are the owners of the home. They don't need to talk so much, but they take in, they listen, and they give advice where it is needed. In essence, father is saying that when you are a man and a woman of purpose, of gravity, a man and a woman that is sure of who we are, we don't really need to spew out or turn ourselves into the motor mouth that many times we find ourselves becoming. But learning how to, in a way, live a healthy life, just like the way we take in the right kind of food, putting out the right kind of words can really give us incredible meaning and incredible understanding of our own purpose. And so one of the things that I like to do in terms of our most important relationships, especially with our spouses or with our children, is to ask myself these 3 questions. I like to ask, is my mouth, what I'm putting out into the world, pollution free? We're always looking for organic food, the best kind of food that is pesticide free. And we want to have healthy living, healthy bodies. But are we mindful of what we're putting out, the words that we're putting out? Are our words polluting the environment or the family that we're living in? In other words, are our words pollution free? And the next thing I like to ask myself is, are my words corruption free? In other words, do I have some kind of an intention that that is not the best in terms of thinking about the other? Am I saying some things not out of the goodness of my heart, but out of the corrupted feelings or the emotions that I have at that moment? Is it really necessary to say the words that I need to say? And the third thing I like to remind myself is my mouth speaking words that are discouragement free? Are my words actually going to discourage the people that I love to try harder or to be better people? Or are my words going to be the catalyst for my loved ones to become inspired, empowered, people wanting to connect to the world, people wanting to share the good message of the good book and the incredible magnitude or the majesty of our heavenly parent or our true parents? Are my words doing these things or are they not? And so when I ask myself these things, I realize that sometimes just as it is important to, go through periods of fasting if we want a healthy body. For instance, if we want to start a brand new program and we want to jumpstart our healthy living or clean living, many times what we do is we cleanse our body from the toxins or from bad food by going on this fast. Or maybe perhaps only drinking water, maybe drinking just water with lemon and a bit of maple syrup. I mean, there are so many different types of cleansers out there, but we cleanse our body so that we can jumpstart our life towards healthy living. Well, one of the things that I would like to recommend is to really think about jump-starting healthy living for our spiritual bodies. We pay an inordinate amount of time to our physical well-being, physical bodies, eat the right kind of food, and we can have a great physical body. But we realize that a great physical body might look great, but they don't necessarily bring fulfillment or contentment or a feeling like, yeah, I am a part of something larger, like I am living a meaningful life. It's because we are also not just a physical form, but we also have a spiritual body. And in order for our spiritual body to have that healthy living or clean living, as I call it, it needs a healthy injection of the right kind of foods. And for our spiritual body, the best kind of food is true love. And the spirit needs to be nourished by true love. And many times it can be nourished by the right kinds of words or the kind of things that we put out into the world, because what we put out invites what we bring into our lives, into our life of spirituality and our life of really learning how to be that meaningful son and a daughter of God. And so when we attempt to live a clean and a healthy life, not just for our physical bodies, but for our spiritual bodies, it's important to be mindful of what our true Father said, and that is the importance of silence. Just as we fast in food, it's very important to practice fasting in terms of what we put out, and that is words. And when we learn how to fast our words by really learning to appreciate the silence, by really learning to appreciate what is not spoken, what we decide not to say, then we become more mindful of what we are actually saying and putting out into the world. And just as we go through different types of, for instance, when we're on a new jumpstart diet, and we're going through the throes and pangs of being on this program, many times we can face or experience hunger pangs. And so for most of us who have gone through these programs, we know that when the hunger pang hits, there are a couple things to keep in mind. Well, instead of reaching for the next dessert or the next cake around the corner every time we are hit with a hunger pang, there are a couple things that you can do to kind of go through the hunger pang without succumbing to temptation, without breaking the program. Number one, when you're hit with a hunger pang, the best thing to do is, before you reach for the next chocolate cake around the corner, drink a nice tall glass of water. And another thing to remind yourself is, if you decide to snack on something healthy because you were hit with a hunger pang after you've had a chance to savor this tall glass of refreshing water, eat slowly. In other words, appreciate the chewing process, not just swallowing, not just gobbling up what's in front of you, but actually taking that time to slowly chew what you are eating. And the next thing we need to remind ourselves when we are hit with this grand hunger pang is not just to drink that tall glass of water and to take the time, eat slowly and chew, but to remind ourselves to choose wisely what we are eating. And in that way, we can overcome our hunger pangs by responding in the right kind of way that helps us stay on track with our nutritional program. Well, the same thing can be applied to clean living or healthy living, or living with the right kind of ways in terms of putting out the right kind of words into the universe and into our family and into our relationships. And one of the things that I like to remind myself is, when you're on a nutritional program, the hunger pangs hit, you know what to do because we've just spoken about it. But when you're in a relationship and when you're wanting to create this incredible family and this incredible relationship with your spouse and children and your in-laws and your grandparents, and the emotional pangs hit, what can we do? Well, just like when the hunger pangs hit and you grab for a nice tall glass of water, when the emotional pangs hit, when you are triggered by something angry, when you just want to blast off like a volcanic eruption, instead of doing so and succumbing to the emotional pangs and causing devastation and misunderstanding and a whole lot of pain, just like taking a tall glass of water, what we can do is to learn how to appreciate the silence before we throw out a volley of words that can shoot down our loved ones like a machine gun. We can choose to take that glass of water, to take that time to enjoy the silence. Take a moment to really ask ourselves, are my words really necessary at this moment? Or let me rethink what I want to say. Is it going to be harmful? Is it going to be constructive? Or is it going to be destructive? Every time an emotional pang hits, it's important to kind of take that time and appreciate the silence, to digest, give yourself the time to digest the emotional upheavals that are going on. And just as when the hunger pang hits, it's important to eat slowly. When the emotional pangs hit, it's important to speak slowly. In other words, try to savor each word that is coming out of our mouths. Is this word going to inspire our loved ones to be better people? Are our words going to help empower our children to achieve incredible things in their life? Or are our words maybe not the best kind of words? And are they actually going to be discouraging our children so that they cannot be the best that they can be? If we can learn how to really speak slowly and think about what is coming out of our mouths, it can be very, very helpful in our relationship with our loved ones. And just as it is important to choose wisely the kind of foods that we put into our mouths when we are hit with emotional pangs, it is important to choose wisely the kind of words that we choose to say, that we choose to put out. Because again, whatever we put out ends up coming back to us. Life is a cycle. So when we just heap a great deal of animosity and anger towards others, it really ends up coming back. We're actually putting out what we want to invite into our lives. So in my own life of faith, in the last couple of years, together with my husband, we've decided to be together, and in our decision to be together, it caused a lot of upheaval and a lot of misunderstanding, and a lot of words have been heaped our way. And one of the things that I always respond to people who are hit with emotional pangs and want to say incredibly hurtful or unconstructive words, I always say that, the words are really incredibly powerful. And many times we say these words because we're angry and we want to just vent and we want to hurt somebody because we think that they hurt us. But when we do so, we are actually throwing out hurtful words into the universe, inviting all of that negativity, all that venting, all that negative energy that we put out into the universe. We're actually inviting all of that powerful negativity to come back into our lives and make us miserable. Because no matter how much you put out in terms of anger and frustration and resentment, it will not yield you a happier and a more joyful life. That is why Father always talks about being good to others, living for the sake of others, really uplifting and edifying others. Say things that will really inspire and empower people. Because when you do so, when you put out these powerful words, living for the sake of others, uplifting others, guess what? The whole universe comes back at you, uplifting you, uplifting your life, uplifting your environment, uplifting your family. And that's the magic of true love, because when we can become truly a man and a woman of God, and we are really in a relationship with true love, with God, with our true parents, with our families, with our loved ones, then not only are we living healthy living in terms of the kind of food that we eat, but we're living healthy living and clean living in terms of the kind of words that we put out. And that really becomes the soil for the kind of garden that we will enjoy in our life. And so I find it incredibly, elucidating when in one of my fishing days during Gloucester and Provincetown with my father was joking about how, the American people, and they like to give a lot of gifts, and many times Father can see, like on television, lovely couples having romantic dinner, and so much time is put in to the etiquette of dining, how the food is prepared, how it is presented, how it is enjoyed, but Father always said, imagine if that much time went in to what we really say to each other. In other words, we spend an inordinate amount of time buying the right kind of food, preparing the right kind of food, putting the right kind of food into our mouth. But imagine if we spent that much time thinking about what we say to other people. And if we did so, our lives would change. And, I learned in my life of faith that really the importance of silence and what we don't say, and the importance of learning to meditate and to have a prayerful attitude towards life is really a way of teaching us to be mindful of the words that we speak, of the words that we share with others, the words that we really create our environment with. Because again, what we put into our mouth is what determines our health or our well-being in terms of our physical bodies. But what we put out really determines the wealth of who we are. So when we can put out positive and uplifting and empowering words, we realize that the universe rewards us with this incredible wealth of true love, and this incredible wealth of feeling contentment and satisfaction, like the kind that we will never experience if we don't know how to give in the right way. And so starting with our words and being mindful of not only what we put in, but what we put out into the universe, we can create a beautiful, beautiful family, starting with our family. And we can create a beautiful, beautiful relationship, starting with our most important people in our lives, which is our wives and our husbands. So brothers and sisters, don't forget to tell your wife and your husband how much you love them, how much you admire them, how much you honor them, not just with our lives, but also with our words. And you will start to see beautiful things happen in our lives. Because life is complicated, it is fast, and it is passing us by. But the precious words that we plant each day into the hearts of our loved ones continue to grow over time and flower in many, many beautiful ways that will yield incredible surprises for you and me. So I wish you happy living, clean living, and God bless. Thank you. If you have any questions and comments, please leave them below the video or go to injinmoon.com and use the contact form. And don't forget to subscribe to our email list. And if you like what we're doing here at iHome Church, please contribute by clicking on the donate button. Thank you. Bye-bye.